Hi everyone, Peter here from Flow High Performance, and in this presentation we're going to be covering some fundamental hypertrophy training guidelines for the chest. So before we get into the practical application of the chest hypertrophy training, we first need to understand the basic anatomy of the chest. So the two muscles involved with the chest are going to be the pec major and the pec minor. So if we have a look at this diagram here, this big fan-shaped muscle is the pec major, and the pec minor is located underneath the pec major, which is why I have here that it's deep, whereas the pec major is superficial, so it's on the surface. The pec minor, is also a much smaller muscle that's located under here. So in terms of physical appearance, because the pec minor is behind the pec major and it's much smaller, we don't really have any consideration for that when we're talking about physical appearance. So when we're talking about actually hypertrophy for the chest, we're referring primarily to the pec major. So the movements that the pec major produces are primarily going to be shoulder flexion, which is, if we have a look at this diagram, imagine this is from a bird's eye view. So imagine having the arm by your side and then lifting the arm up so that's straight out in front of you. That'll be shoulder flexion. Shoulder adduction. So if we have a look at this diagram here, this is from the back. If we have our arm overhead and then we bring it down towards the side of the body, that's shoulder adduction, so that movement. Another primary one is shoulder horizontal flexion, which if we have a look at this diagram here, if the arm is out by our side, out straight, and we bring that arm across the body here while keeping it straight, that's going to be shoulder horizontal flexion. And then the last one is going to be shoulder internal rotation here, which I don't have a diagram of because it's such a minor role of the pec major. So what exercises can we do now that we know the anatomy in order to actually use the pec major in loaded exercises? So we have sort of two primary categories here. We have the heavier loaded exercises, and then we have the exercises that we probably can't load as much, but we can get a bigger range of motion and a bigger stretch on the chest. So our heavy loaded exercise is going to be things like barbell bench press, which we can do either flat or an incline, with the incline going to have more emphasis on the upper fibers of the chest. So we have a look back at this anatomical picture. If we do an incline press, we're going to activate more of these upper fibers here, whereas a flat or decline exercise is going to use more of the lower and mid fibers. We can also do dumbbell bench press, flat or incline, weighted dips, machine chest press, and then I've also got here push-ups with a question mark, because I think the push-up is a great compound exercise. However, it's quite difficult to load, but if you can find a way to load push-ups, then they can also be included here as a heavy loaded exercise. And then we have the exercises where we can get a large stretch on the muscle and a large range of motion. So things like dumbbell flies, which we can do on a flat or an incline bench again, cable flies, which we can do in various planes. So we can do them straight across, we can do them from a low to high position or from a high to low position. And we can also have the pec deck machine. So an example of how we can implement these exercises into a hypertrophy training program. So for example, if we're going to train our chest on 2 sessions in the week, let's say we have Monday and Friday, so we're going to have them evenly spaced out. So we might do one of those heavy compound lifts, so something like a dumbbell bench press for 4 sets of 8 at just an arbitrary number here, 35 kilos. And then we can do maybe one of those accessory high range of motion stretch exercises for the chest, so something like cable flies from a low to high position. We might do them for higher reps as well, for 4 sets of 10 at 20 kilos. And then on Friday we might do exactly the same exercises, except here we're going to undulate the reps and the load, so the volume and the load. We're going to have higher volumes, so we're going to have 4 sets of 10 instead of 4 sets of 8, but because we have the higher volumes, we're going to drop the intensity a bit. So it's going to be a similar effort, rate of perceived exertion. However, the load and volume is going to be slightly undulated throughout the week. And the same thing here, cable flies. So we have 4 sets of 12 now instead of 4 sets of 10, and we're going to have a slightly decreased load. But again, the actual effort is going to be pretty much the same. So that's it for this presentation, guys. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you got something out of it. Make sure you stay tuned for the next hypertrophy training guideline videos on all the different muscle groups. And you can follow Flow High Performance on Facebook and Instagram to stay up to date with the latest research in sports performance training, where you'll see these research infographics, which are essentially the latest research relevant to sports performance training, but they're summarized into these easy to understand pictures so that you can stay up to date without actually having to go into the journal yourself and reading the entire paper. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. You might also enjoy watching this video here, or check out the latest video posted on this channel here. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you got something out of it.